The heat is on, of course, and we're going to add storms to the mix getting into the 4th of July holiday. What's going on, guys? I'm certified meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. In this video, we're going to talk about the building heat through Florida. It's going to continue to get even a little hotter for the 4th of July. So, again, make sure you're taking care of yourself, of course. And then we're also going to talk about storms across the state of Florida, and especially in Central Florida. We are going to break down the timeline of those. There could be a few lingering for fireworks time. We're going to break that down for you. And then we're going to wrap this up with a short tropical update in the Atlantic. There's a few tropical waves that have a little bit of interest. So we're going to break all those down for you. Hey, before we get into the video, again, if you want to stay updated on all things weather in Florida, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that. And, of course, if you want to stay updated on all things hurricane season, this is a good time to hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you find this content helpful. Jumping right into the heat index in Central Florida, we're going to fast forward to the 4th of July. This is the afternoon. Again, if you are grilling outside, make sure you stay hydrated. I know a lot of people are going to be staying hydrated in multiple ways with different beverages, but please make sure you're drinking water. Of course, you hear it all the time, but when there's going to be a lot of people outside, especially elderly and kids, it's a good idea to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. I know you know the drill, especially if you've been in Florida long enough. I don't want to beat that dead horse, but please just make sure you're being mindful and taking care of yourself when it's this kind of heat. We'll deal with this the entire summer. There we go, getting into Wednesday as well. We're keeping with that heat index. Again, this is how it feels on your skin because your body has trouble cooling itself. Whenever you start to add this much humidity in the air, your body acts like it's its own natural air conditioner when it sweats. And when there's more humidity in the air, it's harder for your body to cool itself by that evaporative cooling process. So again, just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Be mindful. Once we get into Thursday, same deal. The heat index back into that 100 to 105-ish degree category. Again, heat advisories are up for part of Central and North Florida. The other deal here, we're going to start back with Monday, July 3rd. Again, if you are starting the holiday off early, of course, I know a lot of my neighbors have been starting like 2 weeks ago now with the fireworks going on. So again, if you're planning on starting things early on Monday night, there's 7, 8 o'clock for you. There's going to be a few thunderstorms around, especially around Lake Okeechobee, and then also to the west of Orlando. The East Coast sea breeze is getting back in on the party. Before, we've had these west to east moving storms. Now we're going to have the East Coast sea breeze dominating things, and that is going to allow for storms to flare up. Now watch what happens as we get into the 4th of July. Early on in the morning, we're looking pretty good across the state of Florida. 8, 9 o'clock, most of us are dry. Then watch what happens. You saw that little flare up there of thunderstorms. Again, just inland of the East Coast beaches. By 4 o'clock, we're going to have storms to the west of Jacksonville, to the west of Palm Coast, in and around Orlando. So, again, heads up here. And then also getting down toward Lake Okeechobee, to the west of Fort Lauderdale, and then to the west of Miami. That is the East Coast sea breeze firing up and moving inland. So if your plans do take you to the East Coast beaches, also heads up, there's a really high rip current risk along the Atlantic beaches on Tuesday. Please be safe if your plans take you in that direction. But we are going to be dry at the beach once we get into the early afternoon. Again, there's just going to be that opportunity for a brief lightning storm early on the 4th afternoon. That's going to be the East Coast sea breeze firing things up. So again, you might have to get off the beach for just a short amount of time because we are going to have those lightning storms nearby. Those are quickly going to leave us alone, though, and push inland at the beach. Closing in on dinner time. Getting closer to fireworks time anyway. Notice, again, that East Coast sea breeze is dominant. That means that the further into the evening we go, we're going to be having a lower opportunity for storms closer to I-95, but a growing opportunity from Central Florida, right smack dab from Orlando into Kissimmee, St. Cloud, west of Fort Pierce, and then toward Lake Okeechobee, and then pressing towards the west. Now we're getting really close to fireworks time. Some places starting their fireworks 9:30, and you see it here. Scattered storms still lingering for us into Marion County, Lake and Sumter. I'm going to show you a closer view of Central Florida coming up in just 1 second. But you see there those scattered thunderstorms that could throw a little bit of a wrench into firework plans. There's 10 o'clock, and we still have a few storms lingering. Notice, though, most of South Florida, we're looking good. Most of the Florida Panhandle, we're looking good. It's just going to be really from about areas west of Orlando, along and around I-75, and then closer to Gainesville, Ocala, and then right up to the Florida-Georgia line. So just keep that in mind. But I do think a lot of the state of Florida is going to be looking pretty nice by fireworks time. I want to show you a Central Florida perspective. Orlando area, Ocala area, Palm Coast, Kissimmee, St. Cloud. Here we go. This is going to be back on Monday night again. A closer look showing those thunderstorms that we could have lingering 6, 7, 8 o'clock on Monday, July 3rd. I'll show you the 4th in just 1 second. Those fizzle out quickly by the time we get towards 10 o'clock. Again, we're looking good during the day of the 4th. And then here is a closer and a better representation of what I was talking about on the wide view for the state. There are some of those thunderstorms and showers that get going just inland. So again, if you're heading to Cocoa Beach, if you're heading to Daytona Beach, Satellite Beach, getting into Beverly Beach, just be careful for a few brief lightning storms close by. I don't think you get wet, but lightning could be close enough to be causing an issue at the beach. They're not going to last long. Those are quickly going to push inland. There's what I'm talking about. 7, 8 o'clock, we have most of those storms now in and around Sanford, DeLand, DeBary, Orlando, Apopka. So again, heads up again, dinner time. There's going to be likely a few storms around, and then also closing in on us in Ocala, through the villages, into Bushnell, Lake Panasoffkee. Those continue to push off to the west as we get deeper into your evening. So there you go at 8, 9 o'clock. A few of these thunderstorms, this is on July 4th now, around Ocala, around Micanopy, Gainesville, again, the villages, Bushnell. We're going to be under the gun for the potential anyway for a few of these fireworks shows to be a little compromised. You see by 10 o'clock, though, there's a few lingering showers possible, but most are done. I do think most fireworks displays should be pretty good on your Tuesday, on your 4th of July, with the exception of right in here, there's just that low opportunity for a few of those storms to linger. I think Sanford, you're looking good. Again, especially up and down I-95, you're looking good. And the closer you are to the Atlantic Ocean, the higher opportunity you have to be completely dry on the 4th of July, especially by the time we get to the evening. Again, starting early by the beach and then pushing inland, again, your chances gradually go up. I want to end this with a tropical update, again, as we are looking out for all things Florida. And the good news is Florida is not expected to be impacted by the tropics, at least over the next 7 days, and it's likely going to be even longer than that. I wanted to point out some of those waves that I mentioned earlier in the show. Nice juicy wave getting into the Caribbean. This is going to bring those folks in the Windward Islands some pretty heavy rain, but it's likely not going to develop. We have a lot of Saharan dust out there now. You can see the clear skies all through here, and I have a lot of it covered up by that no new development sign. Another healthy wave coming off of Africa right about here, but you see all the clear skies in here. That is courtesy of that Saharan air layer, the Saharan dust that's hanging out there and now into the Caribbean. That is going to keep things at bay. There's also this little swirl here. You see that kind of spiraling northeast of Bermuda. That's right in there. There is Bermuda. There is that swirl. That is also not anticipated to develop. A little swirl out to the southwest of the Azores as well. Also not going to develop. And the good news is, even if anything did, Florida would not be impacted by any of these. I do think we're going to be nice and quiet for the next 2 weeks. This is climatologically anyway one of the quietest periods we have in hurricane season in that traditional June to November sense. This is one of the quietest periods climatologically speaking. So there's a climate and quiet all jumbled up in one word. Anyway, we're looking good in the short term. I think there are indications that once we flip into that 3rd week of July, we might start to see things become more active. This is one of the things we've talked about extensively on this channel, that because of how warm the Atlantic is, we could have a fast start. We're already off to that fast start with 3 named storms through Cindy. No indications, again, over the next 2 weeks that we're going to get anything, but once we flip into that 3rd to 4th week of July, we could start to see an uptick. If you want a full tropical update on that, you can click the link in the description, and that's going to have more details on that potential for that late July uptick in tropical development. Right now, we're going to enjoy the 4th. Right now, we are going to enjoy the nice quiet stretch that is likely coming in the tropics. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Again, if you found this content helpful, please hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and we will catch you next time.